What's going on, everybody? It's Ted again here with the Countdown City Geeks.
Walter could be something someday, like a garbage man or a janitor in Wakanda.
What?
And I got an incredible interview for you guys.
I can feel the excitement coursing through my very trousers.
Writer Yassir Lester and co-director with his brother Isaiah Lester.
How are your balls, by the way?
I get them checked regularly.
For the Gutter. What's going on, gentlemen?
Oh man, Livin, Teddy. Just living.
YIN, you know.
Wait,
on the other side of it.
What you said? DYIN?
Yeah, dying.
Oh man, hey, it's like a real half glass, half full, half empty sitch we got going on.
Well, listen, I appreciate the both of you being here. I'm going to take us back a little bit. Let's go back to March 2024. I was at South by Southwest doing coverage for our website, and I am a huge fan of not knowing a single thing about a movie I'm about to watch. So I'm sitting down for this movie called The Gutter, and I know nothing about it. I was even thrilled to find out Shameik Moore and Susan Sarandon are in this deal. I'm like, cool. What happened after the movie started was pandemonium. I had not laughed that hard in years. This movie is just a roller coaster. It's a whirlwind. It holds nothing back. It's just incredible. I want to ask you, gentlemen, both. Do you remember? What do you most remember from that experience? You premiered The Gutter at South by Southwest, and just take us back. And what do you remember from that experience?
I think that my biggest takeaway is that I had a really dope suit on. I thought I looked pretty great. I thought I looked pretty great that day. You know, mint, tailored. No, I think like for me, one, to have your movie premiere at such a big festival was like very satisfying and gratifying for all the work Yassir and I have both done in this business, and the fact that it was The Gutter and it was something that I feel very us was very special. And to be honest, not to sound sappy, but anytime we can get everybody back together, like our DP Veronica and the cast and Liz, our producer, it's always fun. And it's always, if anything, it brings back the memories of being on set with them and the fact that they trusted us, first of all, and we delivered by actually making the movie. I would say those things for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and like, just to partially piggyback off what Isaiah was saying is that like, this isn't art. I'm going to use the word art for a second, and I apologize, but art is usually made in a vacuum, right? You're painting by yourself, you're making a song by yourself, you're making a movie by yourself. Now, when I say by yourself, I mean, of course, you're in collaboration, but like you're distant from the audience. So,
Absolutely.
to my biggest like achievement of that was like, okay, we made something together, me and my brother. Our family and friends are involved in every step of the process, like not just like with character names and inspirations, but like quite literally in the movie. And we delivered on a promise that we made to each other, like we are going to make something cool one day and people are going to love it. And just the reality is, and we're not going to throw too many grenades in this interview, but a lot of people who were involved on like the business studio side couldn't see our vision and really tried to hinder us every single step of the way.
Wow.
And we kept fighting, and it was very much as you said, you were there, and like, I'm not saying this to blow smoke, but like, it was so well received. And like, all I wanted to say was, I told you so. I told you so. All of you guys, shut up now. We know what we're doing. Like, this isn't sorry, there's like so much clicking in my ears. I apologize. I think it might be my headphones. But I say all that to say that not only did we deliver on a promise, but also it was just a nice proof to like the people who get in your way and like the suits, if you will,
Sure.
to be like, you guys never know what you're talking about, ever. You never know. You know what I mean? And like, to be honest, and me and Zay talk about this all the time. There's actually a funnier version of the gutter that's out there that like we got, kind of chopped off at the knees with. And like
Oh
one day,
no.
hopefully, we'll get to. But like, look, as the fact that we got to get that close. And
Yeah.
again, make something together. And like, I genuinely, and Isaiah said this part already, so I'm just reiterating the fact that we get to make something and that when people write me about it, say like I can literally hear y'all's voices and see y'all's ideas come across is like to me the greatest compliment. The fact that like it was us, it was insular, but it was understood on a mass level is all I can kind of ask for.
I love hearing that. And the struggles and the obstacles that you guys faced, you don't see it on the screen because it does feel very much like no jokes were held back and the performances were incredible. And when you say well received, I just remember sitting in that crowd and everybody's dying. We were all just like, what are we watching right now?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just kind of quickly, briefly talk about what the movie is, and then I really want to hear about how this movie kind of came to fruition and how you guys developed it. But this movie is about a character named Walt. He's a very unique individual, can't hold a job. He kind of has his own point of view of the world. I think somebody actually calls him stupid in the movie, but I don't think he's stupid. I feel like he just has this point of view that no one's ever had before. And he's such a unique character. But he gets his job at this bowling alley known as Alley Cats. Sue's about to shut it down unless they can fix it up and create some income to make the repairs and adjustments. Nobody has any idea how they're coming up with the money except Walt has this hidden talent. He is a pure bowler at heart. When they find this out, he starts going on tours. He starts taking over the entire bowling universe. And he even brings out Susan Sarandon, who plays Linda Curson, out of retirement, and they go head to head. This movie is it's wacky, it's zany, but I want to tell you guys this, and I mean this like with like just complete respect. This movie could easily be considered a parody, but it never falls into that category for me. For whatever reason, you guys found a way to keep it like grounded and there's this realism to it. And I don't know how you pulled that off, but like not once am I like this movie's, like a parody of Scream or a parody of some other movie. I don't
Right,
know how
right.
you guys did that. I think that the talent really. But tell us about how this idea ever even came up. When did it start? How long did it take to develop? Tell us about that.
Well, truth be told, it started like in 2017 or even earlier. Like we used to all go bowling a bunch, like me and Isaiah and our friend Reza, and we would go on like the cheapest night of the week, which was like a Tuesday. It was $5, and I was always just laughing at the fact that there was just like full on gang members there. And then Isaiah would always point out like, but on the opposite lane was like a child's birthday party. So it's just like all these people that shouldn't be in the same building are all
Yeah.
together and all have the exact same objective, which is like to be good at bowling. And their lives are going to be completely different the moment they step out of this. And so the original initial idea was to just have a gang member, like a Crip, be really good at bowling. And then, like, the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know if people are gonna love that a Crip is like taking like, and it also weirdly seems harder to make. But I say all that to say that I then kind of switched the POV, and like it was funny because you were talking about the character of Walt based literally on our cousin Walter. Like I mean, almost exactly. Him and Shameik look like versions of each other, but
Wow.
um,
Okay.
and he is that like I know we use the term like man baby in pop culture now, but like. To an extent, yes, but also our cousin is like fully a war veteran. Like he's an adult. You know what I'm saying? Like so, it's I say all that to say that like and to the parody of it all, and I won't go too deep into that part of it, just because
Sure.
Isaiah has his thoughts on this. But in terms of like its inception, it was an idea that started in 2017. Nobody, I filmed a sizzle, no, like a sizzle reel for it, just to show the concept. Nobody liked it. The dude who plays Brother Candy in the movie Rel Battle played the original version of Walt. My
I can
wife
see that.
Chelsea, yeah, my wife Chelsea played the original version of Skunk. And people were like, "This is too weird. It's stupid. Like it's too goofy." Like, pardon me, all the things that people critiqued it for back then are the reasons that it's liked now, you know?
Mm.
And so, again, it kind of went nowhere for a few years. My wife in 2020 was like, you should write it as a movie and see what happens. And then that's where everything kind of took off. And then we got it to producers and blah, blah, blah. And I'll let Zaya kind of handle the rest.
It got to
the movie got to Jared Hess, who's the writer and director, creator of Napoleon Dynamite, which is simply one of the best indie movies ever made.
Oh yeah.
He really loved the script. Yassir had also sent me some iterations of the script as he was writing it. And I always thought it was really funny. And it was it's funny because people are like, it's so weird, it's so bizarre, but like to me it's not, it's just funny. So I was like, oh, this is really funny. And he calls me and he tells me that Jared Hess wants to do the movie, but he will. It wasn't an ultimatum, but he would prefer that I directed it with Yassir because Yassir knew the script so well. I know the technical side and the job of the director pretty well as well, and he thought that would be a really good marriage for the two of us to work on it. And I think for a few reasons it was, and I think mostly going back to the thing I just said, like I think that we understand each other's sense of humor. So when we were working, even and we needed alts or whatever, like we could put our brains together on that side of it, and try to come up with the funniest possible thing, which was always the point, the objective every single day of making the movie. In terms of the parody of it all, I think that like from the beginning, in terms of like the visual side of it, um, both Yasser and I wanted to do something unique, and we like didn't want to be Kingpin, and we didn't want to be Big Lebowski, though we think those movies are great. We wanted to make our own. You know, we wanted to, like Yasser said, like we wanted to make something where people were like, "Oh, this sounds like you guys. This looks like you guys," and this is a beautifully shot comedy and things that you don't usually see. And I think that probably is what helps us stay away from getting labeled like, "Oh, this is a parody of Kingpin."
Yeah.
Because all of our characters are extremely unique, and how we covered them was extremely unique, and how they sound and how they dressed. You know, I think that's what really kept us away from that label, is just like trying to actually make an original film.
Yeah, and I think that because
Nailed it.
I think Isaiah's 100% right. Like so much of it is the visual, and I also think the one thing that we did to our credit, if we may pat ourselves on the back, is that as goofy as the movie is, they always stay in their own world, right? They're always a part of the world of the gutter. Whereas, like, when you watch, like, and I love these movies, by the way, like, especially like the first Scary Movie is like one of the funniest movies
Oh yeah,
ever made. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But every, like they do that weird thing where they make fun of like the Nike basketball commercial for no
yeah.
reason. And it's just like a full minute of the movie, which is insane. It's so funny, but you're like, oh, that has nothing to do with like quote unquote the story. And in a
Yeah.
movie like The Gutter, where the story is already so loose, the fact that we managed to stay within it, and like this is like stuff that I give Zaya credit for in a world that I never would have thought of. Like, there's like the fun, stupid montage of like, Walt in the script. It's fun and stupid. Like Walt's making more money and he's going from like alley to alley and like blah blah blah. And then Isaiah had this like cool visual language of like Walt collecting these like big checks, and it's like and it's such a visually appealing part of the film that still 100% serves the story,
Yeah.
you know, no matter how goofy anything else is. Like, I mean, them wearing Pornhub jackets, but it's like they're wearing Pornhub jackets because it's part of the story. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and we always like just wanted to make sure that, like, again, and this is where like studio notes are annoying because they're just constantly, they want you to like write a movie or a show where at the beginning of every scene someone says what the story is, and they're like, we were just like, hey, we know, everyone knows you are watching the movie because you know he needs to save a bowling alley. I promise you, if he does not mention it here, you know why he won money. Like, you won't and so I say that to say that, like, even in a world where we were avoiding that as much as possible, we still let you know, like, this is a dude who wants to win money for this bowling alley, and if he gets to have a threesome in the process, that also rules. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it. And that's it, And so to just put a period on what Isaiah was saying, I think that, like, you don't even feel that part of it because visually you are invested in a movie that feels like, because it feels like a film visually, you are
Yeah.
invested like a film, versus, again, people saying like, play with my little hand or my strong hand or whatever, which, again, hilarious. Like,
Hilarious. One of the best
Hilarious.
one of the
Yeah.
funniest storylines in any movie ever.
Yeah. That whole bit is great.
It's perfect. It's so stupid. He says, grab my strong hand, and he's like, ew, no. Sorry.
And now they're coming out with a number 6, but
I know, which is,
I
and they're
digress.
Hilarious.
back for it. They're back for it, which is huge. It's
It
so fun.
it's huge. I'm also worried. I'm like, I don't know if you can get away with that humor in this modern day and age. But we could probably talk about that another time. The humor in this, I feel like, has not been done as well in any other film, because there are films that have like dry humor, but they're not this witty. They're not this quick. I'm laughing, and then while I'm laughing, I'll hear like a follow-up line that's even funnier than the thing I was laughing at, and I'm just dying. And I don't understand how you had the entire cast play this movie so straight faced throughout. Like, it must have been impossible. Like, you must have like a million takes of everything, because every line is funny, but everybody's playing it straight faced. And I don't know how you guys got through that. Talk to us about maybe some of those moments where like the cast is trying not to break, or somebody's having the hardest time trying to get through a line without laughing. Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, I'll start by saying, like, every actor we worked with was either like a comedy killer or like just a pro
Yeah.
actor. So they were able to play it straight. Like, I felt like our crew had a harder time. Like, when we cut, our crew would be like laughing. Um, I think the hardest moment, I think the moments in general, but the big one is when uh Skunk is trying to hit on the really ugly guy, and Darcy and George really had a hard time. Darcy especially, which is like, that was a shocker because she doesn't really break.
Yeah.
They had a really hard time holding on for life during those scenes, but they were super funny.
Yeah. I would say that, like, the hardest thing for me, I guess, is that, like, the script was written, and then me and Isaiah would go in every day and like look at the sides and be like, what could be funnier? What could we punch? Then we'd do that. Then the actors would show up, and then we'd be like, well, why don't you play with it too and see what? So there's like 3 to 4, and in a world where you're saying, like, you're hearing a joke on top of a joke on top of a joke, it's like, because of that, right? Like,
Right.
I could, I really, when I sat down and originally wrote this movie, I was like, I want every line to be a joke, but just like, naturally that just can't happen. You know what I'm saying? And then you get Isaiah there, and he's like, oh, well, actually, you flip this, and now this is the joke. One of my favorite moments in the movie is, and I won't give it away, but there's a scene with Susan Sarandon and Darcy Carden, and they're talking at a table, and then there's a reveal of something that happens while they're talking the entire time. Now, the scene actually started with the reveal and then it kept going, and the scene kind of
Ah,
went, not that it went nowhere, but it just ended up way more serious.
Mhm.
Isaiah's idea, what he's like, you should actually flip these things and like let this huge joke be the exclamation point. And it's like things that, you just can't think of all these things at once. So it's
sure.
like things that like genuinely make huge moments in the movie come from Isaiah. Then like Susan shows up and she's insane in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So like
Susan does
she
some
has
really crazy, some
yeah.
really that we
And
like
like
we did not ask her to do, but it's
yeah.
great.
And like but like physical stuff. Like we're like,
Right.
oh my god. And
Yeah.
then
Hilarious.
Darcy's insane. So
Oh
she's
my
doing a
gosh.
crazy thing on top of that. And Shameik, to his credit, like love him and he is so funny, had no idea what he was doing sometimes, but it would be so funny because like his default is to be weird. And so like his weirdness would come. So then you're like, oh my god, and you go back and like, I mean, me and Isaiah will be watching string outs, like loose edits of this movie from the beginning, and be like, this is so funny. Is there even a movie in here at times?
Right.
Like you get lost in the like, like this may just be a collection of people being crazy, but like, but I say all that to say to your original question and to what Isaiah was saying, like it was such a process of like everyone really wanting to make the funniest thing possible. And like, look, other people have said it, we'll say it. Like, does every joke hit you in the face like a sledgehammer? No. But like, we are truly like students of the comedy game of like, if you're calling something a comedy, it should be funny first,
Sure.
and to like what you were saying earlier, the like dry humor of it all. Me and Isaiah talk about this a lot, but like you can't be very, very funny and also be trying to be cool
Mm,
unless your coolness is being used as a deterrent, right?
gotcha.
But
Yeah.
like when people are just like I hate to be like this and maybe he'll come kill me, but like it's why The Rock isn't super funny a lot of the times because he's also still trying to be The Rock, and you're like,
Yeah.
no, just be an idiot. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's why John Cena is very good at
It's
comedy.
funny. Yeah.
It's because, like, even in the moments where he's like big shredded guy, it's as a deterrent to the thing that like he's trying to make happen. So sorry for the long-winded answer, and I didn't mean to take more time than Isaiah. I was just saying that like I just think that these are things that like again, I know it sounds corny because you watch this movie and like it sounds like we're being self-important, but the thing that like we really thought about so many aspects of like what we thought it meant to be funny, what we thought it meant to make a film that looks like a film but carries itself as a comedy. And like and Isaiah can talk about this for a second too, but like we really looked at a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson stuff because and Isaiah, I'll let you take over, but like because we felt like he's so good at marrying the two things.
I
No,
love it.
yeah, and just to go back, I mean, I only thing I have to add is that the thing about the amount of jokes and laughing on top of jokes is like something me and Yasser experienced growing up, and we did in theaters, and we saw Anchorman 100 times. You watch American Pie 100 times, and those really dumb movies that that you're kind of laughing over yourself. And in the aspect in terms of our movie, it's like, yeah, we do have a billion jokes, but like Yasser said, that's like part of the comedy game. And like, if one doesn't hit you in the face, it probably hit somebody else in the face. Because I get a lot of calls that are like, this was the funniest joke in the movie. That was the funniest joke in the movie. I love this bit. I love that bit. And it's always different. Other than Tony
Right.
Baker, says everybody.
Yeah. I was gonna say, well, there's tent poles, for every great
Yes.
comedy. There's like the 5 things everyone agrees on, and then again, like like Isaiah's saying, like like I have completely different favorite jokes that Isaiah has in the film, and like, but I think that's what makes it so fun is because we are different. We then essentially made a movie that's for everyone
Yeah.
and very niche at the same time. We wrote to, or we wrote and directed to two separate niches, which gets you a much larger audience than like, some obscure 3 a.m. Adult Swim cartoon that like, which are still fun, but aren't for everyone all the time.
I'm glad you brought up John Cena. The two of you need to work with that man because I didn't know how funny he was until I saw him in person do an interview, and he was just off the cuff throwing stuff out there like at 90 miles an hour, just joke after joke. I'm like, where has this been this entire time? Somebody needs to put him and give him something to do, and you guys already have that sort of same level of comedic timing and wittiness and stuff. It would be a match made in heaven, just saying that. I also want to say my favorite joke, I died when this happened. It wasn't even a line. And that's what I appreciate about this movie is that there's so many jokes that are just in the foreground or that are just like something happening in the back or something you notice. I'm not going to give it all away, but Walt is on the computer searching for something and he's using a very specific browser. And I'm like, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I
But
never, ever, ever would have imagined something like that ever happening in a movie, and I died. I was like, "That's it. This is I'm sold."
well,
That was it
that
for me. I was
a
like, "That
that's
was
very
huge."
but that's very kind of you. And again, like in a world where the like what he was searching for was always written in, but I believe it was Isaiah's idea to name the browser that
Yeah, we
in the
pitched on
same.
it. I don't remember whose idea
Yeah.
it was, but I remember us pitching on it.
But
I
my
love it.
point is, regardless, is that like I feel like there are spots I wouldn't have seen jokes that he did, and because of that, we were able to just like I mean like truly one of my favorite things, and like sorry, this is a spoiler if you will, but like
Go for it.
Darcy does meet a guy at this bowling alley, and we gave him so many visual jokes that one of the ones that's missed all the time, but is one of my favorites, is that he's reading a book called Women Shouldn't Drive, and it's just a picture of a woman crying behind the wheel of a car. Like, because we were like, how do we show that this guy is literally the worst human? And then he has a reveal of something that says on his shirt, which is
Yeah.
even crazier than the book he's reading. And to us, like, and again, Isaiah said it earlier, but it's like, you go back and watch Happy Gilmore, and like, that to me is the perfect example. And it's why, like, even in script form, I really did try to base as much of this movie off of that as possible. Because, like, to me, that's a version of doing, like you said, the non parody version of a very hard comedy.
Yeah.
Like, when Shooter McGavin says like, you'll see the day, you'll pay whatever, and then Adam Sandler just goes off on the full rhyme of, like, and I'll eat like you're like, this is so insane, but it still makes sense for the movie and for the story. 'Cause you're like, this guy's nuts.
I think about Billy Madison actually in the same
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
thing. And when Eric throws that thing off of his table and accidentally kills his secretary.
He just goes, Joyce.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like,
No, and just like
yeah.
it's so good.
It's so funny, but that's what we were trying to do, every moment we really, because like, truth be told, is the reality of it.
Yep.
We're not like the newness of the story is the fact that you don't really see like black people in the world of bowling, right? But like we've all experienced a fish out of water story. We've all experienced an underdog story. Like we know. So like the thing that you can bring to it that's new is your sense of humor. What is your perspective? What is the thing that makes you tell this story in a way that like, again, no offense, but it's like Adam Sandler and Dennis Dugan, who did Happy Gilmore, could write a black bowling movie. Would it be ours? No, because of just like quite literally the lives that have been led. And so me and Isaiah really just like, we're like, what is us injecting ourselves in every moment? And then it became Darcy injecting herself and Shameik and Susan. And I mean, Paul Reiser took what was just like a pretty
Oh
fun
my god.
character,
Yeah.
and like we're
He
like,
did some
oh,
really
this is there's a main character of the film now.
Yeah.
We can start there because I really want to dig into this cast. I feel like Paul Reiser was so good in this role that I felt like I'd seen him do it like somewhere else in his like plethora of like projects. I'm like, no, this is just he is so perfect. Why has nobody thought to put him in this type of like sports commentary figure before? And the fact that the entire time he's railing on Walt and Skunk just made it even better. But my God, how did I really want to know who's casting? Like they just hit a home run every single time. Like Shameik, I feel like part of it is his demeanor, part of it is the tone of his voice. Like he just perfect for this role. How did you guys get Shameik on board? How did Paul get on board? Like, what was that process like?
Well, we had met Shameik. Yassir wrote him a letter, I believe, that was like, I think you'd be really good for this. And Shameik took it to heart. And man, what was that? Was that like 3 years ago now? We
It
met
was
him for-
truly 2021. Maybe
Wow.
2020 even, because we shot
Yeah,
the
I was
movie
like,
in 2022.
yeah, I was gonna say, was it 4 years ago?
Yeah, here's a chance.
So we had dinner with him, and it was funny. Like, he showed up. We were eating dinner. We're having a nice conversation. We're at this really nice. Where were we? Asked like at we were at some steakhouse.
Yeah,
Like at steakhouse in Tribeca, I want to say.
yeah.
And he had like his feet up, and he was like chilling, and he was like, "All right, I'll do it." Essentially, and when he got to set, it was like, I mean, the man takes his craft like seriously, so you could feel him being a little nervy. His energy was just so different from the casual. I mean, he swung in like he put his feet up like Miles Morales. He was chilling.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of got with him, and then working with him was great. Like getting him out of his shell. Like you said, he really killed it. I think that being weird thing was like a comfortability level. Like he felt like he could do it. So he kind of went for it. Yeah, so I'll let you tell the Darcy story, but Paul was our great producer Liz Destra had worked with Paul Reiser a bunch of times, and I feel like so many times casting this movie, we were like, we can get X, we can get this person, we can get that person.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, let's talk to Paul Reiser. So we talked to Paul Reiser, and he was like, I'll do it. And we're like, whoa. Yeah, so you can tell Darcy and Susan. I'll let you do those.
Yeah, I mean, like, to what Isaiah said, like, it truly was already, like, kismet, I don't know, but, like, we just been having such good luck, and we met Susan, because the one thing that we'll say is that, like, it was important to us from, like, Jump Street, where, like, the person who plays Linda Curson has to be like I'm saying real actress, and I don't mean it like that, but I mean like a serious actress, a dramatic actress, because otherwise, in a weird way, the movie then does become a parody, because then it's just everyone out goofing each other, right? Whereas like Susan as an actress, she's out goofing you, but she's doing it seriously. You know what I mean? Susan Sarandon is not going to slip on a banana peel and go, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, she's going to slip on a banana peel and then, like, stand up and just, like, stare at you. Like, she's incredible. So when we kept saying a real actor, like, we were like, we want someone who's, like, dramatic and, like, can really bring it. And they're like, what about Susan Sarandon? And we're like, yeah, what about her? The legend? Like, yeah. And they're like, we set up a meeting for you. I just happened to be in New York. My wife was working in the city at the time. So I was there with Isaiah, and they're like, we've set up a meeting for you two and Susan Sarandon to meet her at lunch. And so Isaiah calls me. He's like, oh, my God. Like, we have to be there, like, 30 minutes early. Like, we are not going to be making her wait, blah, blah, blah. We show up lunch. We show up to lunch 30 minutes early. She's there already, and we were
Oh
like,
my god.
"Oh
You walk
my
up and see her.
god,
It's even
yeah,
worse. Like it's a slow death.
yeah, yeah." And it's so funny. Like I'll say, at least for me, like when we left, I was like, thank God Isaiah was there because she hated me. Like I was just like, and then Isaiah was like, thank God Yassir, you were there because she hated me. And we were both like, no, no, no. One of us, she had to have liked one of us. I still to this day think it was Isaiah that got her to get on board. But I still have to say, we had this incredible meeting. And like, I guess in my head, she's a legend, so you want to be delicate, and she is delicate, but she's not delicate in the way that you think it's going to be like a, oh yes, and like whatever. It's not like a servitude delicateness. She just
Sure.
wants to be treated as the artist that she is and have her ideas taken seriously and listened to. And we did that, and we did that during filming, and because of that, it was the best experience I've ever had. Like, I mean, she's incredible. And never in a million years, at least I'll say, did I think she would say yes to this, genuinely. And I think that when me and Isaiah found out, we're like, okay, we have to figure out how to make a movie. Because now there's an act. And then, weirdly enough, we were having, I don't want to say trouble finding a skunk, but like it is a very specific character. And
Right. Right.
again, like to the parody of it all, anyone can be like, I'm drunk, blah. But like this is based off of our sister who like is, like she's just a weird lady. You know what I
Okay.
mean? We love her
Okay.
very much. And like some of the things Skunk says in this movie are like there's like a weird 9/11 reference in the movie. And like that is something directly from our sister who like will send me and Isaiah like YouTube clips and be like, have y'all thought about this? And it's like, no, we haven't. We actually haven't thought about this. But and we had met other actresses who were all phenomenal, by the way. There's like no shade towards anyone. But when we met Darcy, we were talking specifically again about Paul Thomas Anderson and how like we're not just looking for a drunk character. We're looking for someone who is weird and like embraces their weirdness, a la Adam Sandler's character Barry Egan in Punch Drunk
Mm.
Love. And as we're explaining this, Darcy holds up a painting of Barry Egan that she keeps on her desk. She's like, it's my favorite movie. I can't believe we're even talking about this, blah, blah, blah. And me and Isaiah got off the call and we're like, it will suck so bad if she says no because it just has to be her. And she emailed us pretty soon after, like, and was just like, I'll do whatever it takes to be a part of this. I know I'm not supposed to be emailing you guys directly, but like, I just like I'm really into it. And once we had those four, we got to like because it's still a movie, and so you have to say like the studio has to be like, okay, who's gonna bring in the money? And so now we have 4 stars. And then we got to populate it. I mean, like Isaiah's been a TV writer for 10 years. I've been a TV writer for 10 years. Like we then got to like I started in stand up and doing that for 17 years. Then we got to populate it with our friends. And like luckily for us, all of our friends are very funny and talented. Like again, Isaiah mentioned it earlier, Tony Baker, who is just he just might be the funniest person on the planet right now. But like does something so insane in the movie as just like a short little runner. We got Adam Brody because me and Isaiah worked on a show called Making History and worked with Leighton, who we were trying to get into the movie, and the schedules didn't work out for one of the other fun roles. But because of that, we became friends with Adam, who did a spot in it. Like I mean, like Langston Kerman, Jay Ellis from Insecure. Like I mean, like people who like for no like literally came to work for a day because they're like, oh, this will just be a fun thing. Like Jay Ellis was in Top Gun
He was
and
just
then
in Top
came
Gun. Yeah, he was just in Top Gun and then this is his movie.
like and like we're in the parking lot of a bowling alley. You know what I mean? Like, and he's there in the ugliest shirt I've ever seen. And is telling us how he had just flown in the night before from doing press in Germany for Top Gun. And so we're like, okay, this is crazy. Rel Battle, who plays Brother Candy, has been our friend forever, and like is in sitcom after like he had just finished Killing It on Peacock, and then came to do our movie. Like Kim Fields, Jack A. Harry, like you know what I mean? Like it's
The Queens.
unfathomable. Dude, it's unfathomable, and everyone, I will say, like, if you didn't like the script, then you must have really liked Isaiah and me, because there was no other reason for these people to say yes. Well, Isaiah, will you tell the Jack A story just real quick, and then
Oh yeah. So years before we filmed The Gutter, maybe a couple years before, Yassir had written an idea for a show, and we were going to shoot a little kind of like proof of concept for it. And it was a show where Yassir was looking for his dad, and Jack A played his mom. We filmed in this house. I directed it. We filmed in this house. Worked with Jack A for an entire day. You know, I got to know her a little bit. First of all, brilliant woman. I mean that sincerely. Like every little thing you can know about this business, she knows. Her mind is crazy. So anyway, we shoot this thing. A couple of years later, we're talking about casting The Gutter, and we should work with Jack A again. Like Jack A is dope. She's hilarious, and like she was great to work with. So we get Jack A. You know, I get to meet Jack A, get to see her, and I'm like, "Hey, Jack A, how's it going?" She's like, "How you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm Jack A." And I was like, "Oh no, we've met. We've met. I filmed a thing with you a couple years ago." And she was just like, I don't think so. And I was like, "No, we definitely filmed something a couple years ago." And she was like, "I don't remember." And I was just like, "Okay." And then Rel Battle, who Brother Candy was also in this thing, he sees Jack A. He goes up to Jack A and he's like, "Hey, Jack A, good to see you again." And she's like, "Who are you?" And it's like, "I know, we worked together for a couple years ago." And she's like, "I don't remember."
So Teddy, by that count, there's 3 people who she's worked with before, all on the same thing. She did not remember any of us. And the thing that she says, which is funny, is that she just won't even pretend. Like she's just like, "I don't remember you guys," even though now 3 separate people have been like, "Good to see you again." And so and Darcy tells a funny story too, that Jack A looked at her one day during a scene and said like, "Wow, I just think you're like so good at this." And Darcy's like, "What do you mean?" And Jack A goes, "You just don't care how you look." And Darcy was like, "Well, I mean, like I'm in character." And she was like, "Nah." So she's just like, everyone, it makes sense when you get to know all these people, because you're like, oh, all of these people are crazy to an extent. That's why they agreed to do this movie.
Oh my god. I'm so thrilled to kind of see them again. Jack A, who I grew up watching Sister Sister. I had a crush on the twins like we all did. I was watching Living Single probably when I shouldn't have been at a young age. And
I
Kim
can't talk
Fields,
about. I can't talk about it. It's devastating. Regine, just
Kim hasn't aged a day. I'm like, my God, look at her. She looks incredible. And I love Living Single because I loved the banter between Maxine and Kyle. Like love that show because the two of them going at it every episode was like the funniest stuff in the world. And I absolutely loved it. So yeah, seeing Kim in this, Adam was a great surprise. Paul Shear, who you guys had,
again, a friend of ours. Like
killed
I mean,
it.
like that's what it's like so hard to name everyone, just because like I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that person's in it, and this person, like Earthquake. I mean, yeah, like it's truly it's insane when we start talking about it again. Like there's just there's too many people that were just excited to help us, I think, and like also have fun, hopefully.
Yeah.
But just your Living Single thing real quick. Me and Isaiah growing up used to have Kyle Barker contests where we would just say Kyle's name as he would say Kyle Barker.
Kyle Barker.
Go, boy. in the 80s, Kyle Barker, real name was it TC Carter, was in a
TC
movie.
Carson?
Carson, maybe, yeah. But he was in a movie in the 80s where the whole movie was him becoming white. Like, it was like a slow. You guys remember that movie?
I don't
don't.
remember that one.
It's called like Street Boys or Street Boy, and it's like him like yo 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 at the beginning of the movie. But as the movie progresses, he just becomes more and more white. Like his skin starts getting. You guys have to. Okay, I have to find it. Anyway,
I gotta look that up now.
Yeah, you got the.
I was just watching. He's in one of the Final Destinations. I'm like, how did I forget about this?
Whoa.
He's in like Final Destination 2, 3, maybe one of those. I'm just like, I completely forgot he was in that.
Man.
How good is Susan Sarandon as a bowler in real life?
I mean, she famously says in every interview that she broke her ass the first time she tried to bowl. So I guess that answer is to be determined.
Yes. Well, also, we had to make a fake ball for her just to hold up. Like, so
I
she's
bet.
holding like a 2 or 3 pound ball. And then we had a body double pro come in and like actually roll for her. And it's like, look, whatever aside, like she shouldn't have to be bowling anyway. Like you already said yes to our movie. We shouldn't also make you bowl for real.
Yeah, that was my fault.
Yeah. So that being said, not good. But it's because we have no concept of if she can actually do it or not.
Let's say I don't know.
Yeah,
Like she could be great. She could be great.
She lied on her resume.
Yeah.
How good is Shameik? How good is Shameik Moore as a dancer?
Great.
Man, he's like shocking. It's shocking. Like you're just not expecting it, and then like you're just like, oh yeah, you're like one of these weird guys that is good at everything.
Yeah, but like our cousin Walt's the same way.
Yes.
Like he picks up things very quickly, and I don't want to get Shameik in trouble, but he like kind of reminds me in terms of dancing of Miss Mound, Tiss
Chris Brown.
Yes,
Chris Brown. I'll say Chris Brown.
That's who you remind me.
Yeah.
You guys have a scene, I guess, towards the middle of the movie where he starts like dancing like on Elaine, which I'm sure has its own challenges. And I'm like, whoa, this guy can really move. And who knew? Had no idea. Nobody ever asked him to do it on TV, on film.
Well, to that end, there's two things. We de-slicked a lot of the lanes just because we would need to shoot on them. But that being said, whether they were slick or not, he would have been able to do it. He's done like full music videos and stuff. He's constantly making stuff and then like will hold it close to the chest. So who knows if you guys will see it. There is one of his music videos is on YouTube that he put up. It's like under the name like King Sam, I think. But
look for that.
He is like the consummate performer, singing, dancing, act. Like I mean, like he can really do it all. And like to what Isaiah was saying when Isaiah said that Chris Brown's his favorite celebrity of all time. No, you said Chris Brown. Remember, just for those at home listening, Isaiah said. No, just kidding. But he is right. Like he's so fluid in like his body, and Miss Mound, as Isaiah has been calling them, is also very good at like picking things up like that. And Shameik really is the same way.
That's fantastic. Did you guys? Because I know a lot of this is your humor. It's in the script and everything. But do you give things to Shameik to help him sort of develop this character? Is there notes? Are you giving him music to listen to? Movies to watch based on like one person, or does he kind of bring that character to life on his own? Like, how did that collaboration or that process come out?
Well, I'll say. I'm sorry, Zay. Was I about to hit you off? Okay. I was gonna say. So it's not a full 2-part, but I'll do the quick version.
Sure.
One is Walt exists on paper in script form as our cousin, right? With some hyperbolic moments, if you will, and or attributes. And Shameik came in and was doing that. Keep in mind also the first week of shooting out of a 4-week shooting schedule, Isaiah had COVID. So Isaiah is directing with me via Zoom and like a satellite feed.
Oh my
And
god.
so it was very tough for just the first week. But I say all that to say that Shameik, once we kind of let him say, we told him like, yo, you're here because we like you. Like, so be you in this situation. And that's what we were kind of saying earlier. And Isaiah was saying about like meeting him and him being so weird and fun is that like once that person showed up as Walt, the whole movie opened up, you know. And so like there are things in it that like you know, without giving too much away, there's some scenes that we shot earlier that I wish we would have had the time to go back and just do like another line read or two. But once Shameik was Shameik, like Shameik is Walt, and Walt is our cousin who is Shameik, you know, and so I feel like me and Isaiah are big note, and you know Isaiah would fly in every time. It would just be like, "Yo, it's you." Like there's no other thing you need to be doing right now other than be you, you know. Cause like even at the end where like he's playing tough when he's like screaming at one of the rival bowlers, it's like that is Shameik when he's mad. You know what I'm saying? Like we really leaned into him being himself. Like, you know, he always has to play Raekwon. He has to play Shaolin Fantastic. You know, so this hopefully the version of him because also like sorry I'll stop being so long-winded but like
You're good, man.
he has like such a one of the reasons we really dug him from jump is that like his voice is so like it's such a nice voice, you know, it's why he's Miles, you know. And like when you get to see the personification of that, it really helps you buy into this character more as like an innocent guy than just
Yes.
being like a full-blown to you said to your point earlier, then instead of just being like a stupid adult, this is just like a sweet guy trying to make his way in the world.
No, yeah,
Love
that's
it.
absolutely. I totally agree with what Yasser said. I will also like give a lot of credit to that to Darcy. I think
Yes.
that Darcy, that relationship that they cultivated, and how she was willing to put her hand out there, and he was willing to grab it. Um, it really, you know, like Yasser said, after we gave him that initial note, really like freed him up to just kind of. They just had this like really solid bond with each other. That you know I can't take any credit for. It's just something that they grew organically.
Yeah, to
I
even what Zay's saying now, like we would be like, okay, and you know, we'd give our little notes or whatever in between takes, and then we would see Darcy walk off with Shameik, and like in a corner, they would like be working out a separate thing, and then they'd come back, and it would be 10 times funnier than anything. You know what I mean? Like it really
That's
was.
amazing.
Isaiah said this earlier, but it was you know it was a group project, and like best joke won, and like they really whoever had the best joke that was the one that would go in, and we really just we like as much as people say they leaned on us, I really feel like me and Isaiah leaned on them a lot too, and it really felt nice.
It sounds like they made your job easier. You started the conversation with they trusted you, and I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I really believe it.
yeah.
And the script got a lot of them to jump on board, like you mentioned with Darcy, and that's incredible. I noticed in the credits, I believe you had mentioned a Moselle Lester. Is that your mom?
No, Moselle is our grandmother.
Oh, your grandmother.
Vicky is our mom. Yeah, which is
Gotcha.
the
So
name
you
of Kim Field's character.
Oh, okay, and then Moselle, who Jackie played,
Yeah,
based on your grandmother. That's awesome.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was curious about that. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. They're putting in, people. That's great."
yeah,
What
yeah.
what is, something that you guys weren't sure about before production started, either, a character or either scenes that you weren't sure about that completely took on a different feel or took on a different energy once you got to set or once you started rolling? Like what's something that really either evolved or changed during the entire process?
I mean, to me, it's a particular scene and it's a particular character, which was the really ugly guy. Like the really ugly guy was supposed to be like five, six, seven different celebrities that just I mean, was it supposed to be Damon John at a point? It was supposed
Yeah, it
to
was
be
like,
at a point, like,
yeah,
and Yassir came up with, he was just like, I think I should just write a different character. And it was essentially this dude, he was like, I just want to make this guy who's the worst guy ever. And then we really got to jump into it and like put the shirts on him and make him read the book and spit the sunflower seeds out of his mouth before
Oh my god.
he goes to the hotel. Like, you know, it became a whole different thing than what we had originally planned.
yeah.
God, so good.
And I'll say, and I actually mentioned mine already, but I will say it again. Like the montage of Walt winning a bunch of like money,
Yeah.
and like kind of his journey. I don't think like we actually filmed a completely different version of that where it's like you see people in different bowling alleys like kind of celebrating him and like it was just like cheap banners and stuff, but Isaiah like pitched this thing that was like from The Lion King, which again it just sounds so funny when people are like, "Oh, have you seen the gutter?" Like, yeah, there's a lot of Lion King references in there. But Isaiah pitched this particular scene from The Lion King, which I've loved forever, is when Simba is with Timon and Pumbaa, and he's growing up, and they're like walking on the log, and he's getting older, and like you're seeing time pass. He was like, I actually think you could do like something kind of interesting there, and so he like pitched this whole thing. And I remember when he pitched it to me, I was like, I love it. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. And we kept trying to get people to understand it. And people kept being like, I don't get it. I don't get it. What is it? And we
Wow.
just kept fight. We kept having this one fight over like something again is that it's like 20 seconds in the movie, maybe a little longer. But my point is that it to me, it makes the movie stand out so much more than what it could have been otherwise. I think that without doing the thing, this Isaiah's initial idea, that I really do feel like elevates this, not just part of the film, but like makes the movie feel like something else.
Yeah.
Like, and we done the initial thing that was written, I really would have been kicking myself and it would have felt so cheap, but it just feels like another fun thing to have. Like I know this is corny, but it's like there's so many moments in the movie that like you can't screen grab just because of Amazon like blacks out the screen or whatever. But like there's so many moments where I'm like, I forgot how visually fun this is. Like when Walt and Darcy are sitting in slow motion and confetti's falling in front of them, and like the color temperature that our DP Veronica used, the costumes that our costume designer Melissa Walker used and created, along with our production designer Maggie Reuter. Like everything is like such a symphony at points that I'm like, oh yeah, this is like what it was all about. And I feel like in that scene in particular, the one that I keep describing, like it just feels so nice to me, and it feels like I never would have seen that on my own. And like so it's I also think that, because I wrote it, I think that you always have a vision in your head, and then when you get to do something completely different and it surprises you, like I'll just always be thankful for that. And so like that is my big surprise and like greatest fun moment of the movie, honestly. And also like it's fun because I'm like describing like what I consider to be a very beautiful thing, but also it's like fully like dudes like drinking like promethazine and Sprite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but like it still looks cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
like with prisons and all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's my thing.
You reminded me of a question I wanted to ask. Who came up with all the unique styles and the different, we'll call it costume changes for Walt's character? Every time he plays a new game, he's wearing an astronaut helmet. He's coming out in like a cowboy hat and a blue jean jacket with no shirt on. Is it notes with your costume designer? Did you say just go crazy with it, and she came up with all of it, or how did that work out?
Well, like a lot of them were written in, but
Oh,
like very generically. Like we knew Houston was going to be space. We knew Oklahoma was going to be cowboy. We knew Atlanta was going to be TLC. But what she did with those things is again beyond measure. Like I wouldn't have thought, like the way she dressed him in Oklahoma, where he's got like the really baggy jeans that are tucked into cowboy boots, is like it's the image of the poster. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's so crazy. And like again, Melissa, who's our costume designer, she's like the costume designer on like Pen 15. Like, these are people who are like very rarely get to go bonkers, and
Yeah.
like we gave them an opportunity, and she like she knocked it out. There's so, and like the things that she did with Darcy that are so subtle and fun, and like made her like a burnout, but like someone, because Isaiah, the one note Isaiah did have for Skunk that I always really loved, yeah, he had multiple notes, but the one that I love the most was that like as she gets money, it's not like someone who's like, now I got a bunch of money, I'm gonna wear Gucci. It's like someone who then is just gonna buy the most expensive thing off like H&M or ASOS.com. Like,
Right.
she still doesn't understand luxury. She just understands spending more money on like crappy things. Like, and I mean, like once he said that, I was like, that is so brilliant, you know? And so like, it's, uh, uh, so it was like it was a mixture, but I don't think I don't think we would have gotten nearly as far without someone as brilliant as Melissa.
Gosh, I love hearing about like the entire creative process, about the collaboration between you guys, between your cast members themselves, and it sounds like the makings of it and getting people on board just sounds like fate when you come down to it. So many like serendipitous moments and getting people to be a part of the project. It just sounds wonderful. I know folks can watch it video on demand. You got Prime Video. Go find it on Prime Video. It's on YouTube TV. I saw it there as well. But what other markets can people find it in theaters, or where can they go to find out which markets have it in theaters?
If you go to magnoliapictures.com or Magnolia Pix, I think is the Instagram, it lists where it's still playing in theaters. You know, it's not, you know, we're not gonna, it's not the Avengers. It's not going to be on 12 screens per theater. You know what I mean? Like it's a comedy that people were kind of, you know, worried about at first, but if you go to those websites, it should tell you. And you know, again, like, and I'll be done in a second, but like, just if you watch it, tell people whether you liked it or hated it. Just like give a strong opinion on it, one way or the other.
Yeah,
I
watch
love
it,
it.
talk about it. It's on, like, whether you can find a theater or not. It is a very fun watch in the theater. It's it's online. It's on Apple TV. It's on VOD. It's on Amazon, as we've all said. Just enjoy it. Check it out. Have a good laugh. Enjoy it.
Absolutely. And if you find it in the theater near you, go to the theater, because I'm telling
Yeah.
you, that experience was like on a whole nother level. I honestly have not laughed that hard in a movie probably since the first time I watched Tommy Boy. When I watched
Oh
Tommy
wow, that's
Boy,
a huge compliment.
when I
It's great.
watched Tommy Boy, Chris Farley, David Spade, I literally remember not breathing just from start to finish. It was just pure laughter and enjoyment from like the beginning of the movie to the end, and that's how I felt watching this one in theater for the first time. It just blew me away, and could not believe what I was watching. Thank you, gentlemen, both so much for taking the time to speak with me today. The Gutter, find it in a theater near you or on video on demand right now. Go to magnoliapictures.com or find them on Instagram. You can also find Yassir and Isaiah, I believe, on Instagram as well. So go follow them on social media. And gentlemen, thanks again for taking time to speak with me. Tremendous film. I love hearing about how you guys pulled this all together. It sounds like I mentioned earlier. It sounds like just pure fate brought this movie, and you guys are a juggernaut. Cannot wait to see what you guys are doing next. Appreciate it.
Okay, I can tell you. We can give you one little hint. Okay, what we're doing next.
I have to use the bathroom.
Okay, never. It rhymes with math room. Oh, thanks so much, Teddy.
Use the bathroom.
And I also will say, I feel like this, if you guys wanted to, I I'm just saying specifically, not spoiling anything. Specifically, I would love to see what's left for Walt after this. I feel like this is a character you guys can take wherever around the world, and it's going to be interesting and it's going to be hilarious no matter what. So, if you ever feel the need to, let us know whatever Walt's got going on down the road.
You got it.
For sure.
Oh my God!